Good afternoon, everybody. Tess Crawley here, clinical and forensic psychologist and director of Dr. Tess Crawley and Associates. How are you going? It's Friday afternoon and it's a gorgeous afternoon here in Hobart too. I absolutely love Fridays. Of course we all do. I'm just going to share into Stigma Rebellion and my other groups, but I would love to hear from you while I'm doing this. What is your favourite? Hi, Mel. What is your favourite thing about Fridays? I'll tell you what my favourite thing is about Fridays in a minute, but I want to know what's your favourite thing about Fridays. Hi, Sarah. Let me just find on my laptop. Here we go. Okay, posting into the Stigma Rebellion first. And do you know we've got over 100 members of the Stigma Rebellion now? We haven't been, the group is not very old, and it has grown quite quickly to this lovely little community of about 105, I think it is, people. So if you're not in the Stigma Rebellion, just a reminder that of course you are all welcome to join, and it is open to all, no special qualifications. So you just search on Facebook for the Stigma Rebellion and request to join, and you will be welcomed aboard with open arms. Also sharing into the meeting room, which is my equivalent for mental health professionals. So if you're a mental health professional or have an interest in working in mental health, and you are a health professional, if not a mental health professional, then join the meeting room. And I pop little snippets of information for mental health professionals in there from time to time. At the moment, of course, I'm sharing all my videos into all of my groups, all of my communities. And that is so that, of course, no one misses out on my 90-day vlog challenge videos. But once the videos, once the 90-day vlog challenge has come to an end, which is where are we today? Day 84, so 6 more to go. Then what I'm going to be doing is some regular videos specific to each of my groups, as well as more general videos on my general open page. So there'll be live Q&As in the Stigma Rebellion. There'll be live Q&A sessions in my mental health professionals groups, so the meeting room and Rural Mental Health Professionals Australia and Psychology Supervisors Australia. If either or any of those groups appeals to you, feel free to request to join. Now today, of course, we're continuing on our theme of supporting perinatal depression and anxiety awareness week. So I thought I would share a couple of things on a basic theme today, and but I know I've got some answers. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jen. Happy Friday afternoon, Jen. Jen and Sarah, I've asked everybody, and you feel free to contribute, if you would let me know what your favourite thing is about Fridays, and then I'm going to share what my favourite thing is about Fridays. And I bet some of us have got the same ideas about Fridays. Okay, I think we are just about good to go. So let's see, who have we got here? So it's Mel homemade pizza and a glass of wine. Tell you what, my kids love Friday nights for frozen pizzas, like cardboard pizzas. I've tried the homemade pizza thing, but there's just something about a cheese and bacon frozen pizza that I cannot replicate. So unfortunately, it is not homemade pizzas. Pre-children, I used to love making pizzas, so it's a bit of a shame, but there you go. And a glass of wine for mummy, of course, absolutely right. Has anyone else told me? Come on, guys. What else do you love about Fridays? Come on, there's got to be something else in there. I think, obviously, end of the working week, more time with our family, all that sort of thing. Do you know what, for me, I'll tell you, my favourite thing about Fridays, apart from knowing that there's no rush on a Saturday morning, my favourite thing about Fridays is actually the fact that I'm quite happy for the kids to stay up late and we sit up and we watch Doctor Who, or we watch a movie. I think we're watching Harry Potter, one of the Harry Potters tonight. And for me, the whole it's not selfless, it's actually quite selfish. The fact that they can stay up late means that my night is more relaxed. I can just take my time getting dinner. I can take my time settling down onto the couch with them. I can take my time with the whole evening just unfolds in a much more relaxed fashion. And that's what I love about Friday nights. To me, Friday is just about chilling out, feet up. We're all sitting together, enjoying each other's company, and then of course, you know, sleep in if we need to on the Saturday morning is all good. Okay, let's dive in. I want to share two things with you today. So the post I put up today, I don't know if you saw the pumpkins that I posted today. Oh, Sarah, best thing about Friday is knowing I'm off to work Saturday, Sunday. The weekend is my respite from domesticity. Yeah, I get that too. When my kids were really little, I used to work in the practice every second Saturday, and it was lovely because, of course, our Salamanca office on a Saturday, right outside our office, is the Salamanca market. So if I had a cancellation on my Saturday session, I don't do Saturdays anymore, but if I had a cancellation on my Saturday session, I would love to just nick out and wander around the market uninterrupted, you know, free with my own thoughts, free to look at what I wanted to look at. And I know what she's saying, you know, getting away from domesticity can be a blessing in itself sometimes, and engaging in grown-up pursuits. Jen's got locking door on work, no laptop, lying on a couch, wine, Netflix, the list could go on. I know. I have to confess, my big plan for coming months is to get a better grip on my use of technology after hours. Once I finish my 90-day vlog, I think I will be in a better position to put some controls around my social media for work, of course, mostly work, and internet usage, because it just does seep into everything, doesn't it? Putting all that work away. Sounds lovely. I'm usually a bit soggy, so I have a free class. I'm kind of stuck. Okay, I don't know what you mean there, Sarah. I'm going to leave that one. I'm wondering if that's a typo. I'm usually a bit soggy, so I have a free class. I'm kind of stuck. Oh, of course. Sarah's a swimming teacher. Sorry. My brain's on Friday already. Yes, you would be a bit soggy. So if you do have a free class, there's not a lot of wandering around in your bathers that one might wish to pursue. Okay. All right. So, the good enough mum. So here's the thing. I joined a group, a Facebook group for psychology and other mental health professionals who are also mums who run a private practice. Jen says, "Gotta love a Friday brain." There's a whole lot of respite from being sensible, I think, once Friday brain sinks. What's the word? Oh gosh, we're in trouble, guys. Where are we going with this tonight? Okay, once we get Friday brain happening, we could be ending up anywhere. So let's just see if we can stick to plan A for this afternoon. Okay, so this group that I've joined, Facebook group that I've joined, supporting mental health professionals who are in private practice and also mums. So the group is called Mums in Private Practice, and it's an American-based group, and it's really lovely to sort of share support across the big pond, and share ideas and pick each other's brains, and how, you know, and also there's a lot of giggling and a lot of laughter and a lot of silliness around, you know, the challenges of being a private practitioner, and also juggling, of course, the responsibilities of motherhood. And during some discussions that I was having within that group this week, some interesting information came my way which I had not heard before. So I love it when I learn something new. And it was just a little percentage figure that I thought I would share with you today. I've done posts before about being a good enough mum or being a good enough dad. And when we talk about being good enough, we're not talking about slapdash, near enough's good enough. We're not talking about, you know, letting ourselves off the hook if we're neglectful. We're talking about not beating ourselves up and not letting ourselves be ruled by perfectionism. So if you're already a bit of a perfectionist and tend to be a little bit of a worrier, add new parenthood into the mix. That's a bit of a recipe for a very stressful adjustment to parenthood. So a lot of the work that we do is around is around helping new parents adjust to a whole range of things that they've never really been confronted with before. So not just the practicalities of parenthood, but this idea that you don't know all the answers, and that there is no one right way of doing everything, and that there's a whole lot of uncertainty that you have to sit with. So, you know, a lot of the work that we do with parents is all around mindset, all around getting your head around the fact that you don't know what you're doing, and that's normal and that's okay. And you will learn on the job with parenthood, you and your baby. You know, we always say babies don't come with a manual, you and your baby write the manual together. And so what we often talk about is this concept of the good enough parent. When we're encouraging parents to let go of their perfectionistic approach to parenthood, we talk about the good enough mum or the good enough dad. And this is where you're striving to be emotionally connected to your child. Now that might sound obvious. You know, we all assume that we love our babies, we all assume that there's an instant bond, but for sometimes it's really hard, especially for first time parents, to read the cues that a baby's giving you. That's really normal. It's really normal to have no idea what is wrong when your baby's crying. And so one of the things that we talk about is reflective parenting capacity, and this is where a parent is striving to trying to hypothesize around what the cues might mean that their baby is giving them, starting to learn patterns. So certain cries might mean certain things. So there's the tired cry, there's the, you know, the grisly sort of tired cry, there's the distressed cry of pain, there's so on and so on. And so learning to, by trying to see the situation through your baby's eyes and your toddler's eyes and your teenager's eyes, so be it, you're trying to be emotionally connected. You're trying to sort of get into their mindset and hypothesize about what might be going on for your child, and then responding with an emotionally appropriate response to what they're trying to tell you. Now, you're never going to always get it right. Gosh, that was bad English. See, Friday brain. You're not always going to get it right. In fact, a lot of the time you're fumbling in the dark, and that's really okay. That's really normal. It's the trying. It's the trying to get in there and understand what they're thinking. It's the trying to match what you can offer with their needs. It's the trying to be emotionally appropriate. So if the child's got a sad look on their face because they're upset about something, a parent who's tuned in is going to be mirroring that sad face. Oh, poor thing, have you hurt yourself? Got a tummy ache, you know, that sort of thing. Or if the child's, you know, squealing with delight, then we get a delighted look on our face and squeal along or giggle along with them. So emotional attunement is what we talk about when we're talking about good enough parenting. Now here's the thing. Nobody can do that 100% of the time. So what I'm learning about parents, the more parents I work with, is that there's a large proportion, especially of first-time parents, who have read these kinds of concepts. They know a lot more about these theories and these ideas, and then they use them as a stick to beat themselves up with. You know, I'm not attuned enough to my child. My attachment to my child's not strong enough. I'm worried that because I used my phone while I was breastfeeding this morning, that's going to affect my attachment to my child. So this is where we talk about being good enough. So you're not going to always get the cues, the interpretation of the cues right. And you're not always going to do the right thing. You know, it's what you do most of the time that is important. You know, that consistency across most of the time. You're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have good mornings, bad mornings, and so on. But it's what you do most of the time that's important. So I've talked about those concepts a lot with parents in the past. And what I learnt from this new group that I joined was there was a conversation going on there around this very topic of being a good enough parent. And there's some research, well, there's a couple of things. I've shared posts before from the Gottman Institute, that's Gottman, and that is actually a married couple who do a lot of work together and have done a lot of research over the years into relationships and couples and parenting. So I've shared things. I really enjoy their Facebook page. If you're interested in this sort of thing, it's a good page for you to follow. And Sarah's saying, that's me, even nearly 8 years in. Yeah, look, there's no perfect, and I don't think we ever get it. I reckon, I'll be on my deathbed still learning something new about parenting. So the Gottman Institute, good page to follow. And they talk a lot about relationships and attunement and all that, emotional attachment, stuff like that. Then on the other side of the fence, there's a program called Circle of Security, and it's almost become like a philosophy of parenting education. So in the perinatal and infant mental health sphere, there are a lot of practitioners who have done this Circle of Security training, or have at least been exposed to some of the concepts within the Circle of Security training. And we're very, very excited that there's going to be some training offered in Hobart next year, which is very infrequent that it happens. It's like a 4-day program. It's an intensive amount of training to do, and it's not offered in Hobart very often. And Circle of Security, the work that we do there is all around it's around that emotional attunement, the attachment, being able to understand what's going on for your child by observing their behaviors and their the way that it's a little bit like the Circle of Security that they're talking about is this metaphor that sometimes plays out in actual behavior. It's really quite amazing to observe. So you imagine yourself at a playground with your toddler, and your toddler is going off and playing, and then they come back for a cuddle, and then they go off and play, and then they come back for a cuddle. So the circle that they talk about is this going out and exploring the world and then coming back in for emotional top-up, if you like. And when you witness that happening in toddlerhood, it's quite easy to see it in toddlerhood, and then as children get a little bit older, they might venture out a little bit further, and then they still come back for emotional top-up. Teenagers will do it too, but they're venturing a little bit further still, and so on, and adults further again, but there's still that that coming back for that emotional top-up. There's lots more to it than that, but it relates to what we're talking about emotional attunement. So in the group the other day, there was this chat about Circle of Security and Gottman and good enough parenting, and some psychologists and other mental health professionals throwing backwards and forwards. It was just a lovely conversation around these topics. And then somebody said, they made reference to a percentage. And apparently, and as I said, I've not come across this before, so it was new information to me. It was quite exciting, and I had the opportunity to share this morning actually, and with a client, and it was wonderful to almost see her shoulders relax a little when we talked about this. Emotional attunement, nobody can achieve that 100% of the time. You think about it. Think about how tuned into yourself you are. Are you fully attuned to yourself 100% of the time? Of course you're not. So with parenting, and the good enough parenting is 30%. That's what the research that the Gottmans have done has shown, and that's what the Circle of Security people are also showing. 30%. If you are emotionally attuned to your child 30% of the time, then you are facilitating a good enough emotional attunement in your parenting style, and that's enough to support solid attachment between you and your children. Now, isn't that a lovely number, 30%? It suddenly sounds achievable. It suddenly sounds like I don't need to beat myself over the head with a book anymore. Hey Mel, I think for your little comment there, I know you're already there, I'm saying hello twice. So when you're working as a professional with parents, it's helpful to have little numbers like this that can take some of that stress away, take some of that perfectionism away. And as a parent, whether you're a professional or a client or just a parent, knowing that the number is not unattainable. The number, the percentage is actually quite achievable. 30% of your time. And that, again, is across what you do most of the time. It doesn't mean that 30% of every day has to be spent being emotionally attuned to your child. It means that just in general, across the board, 30% of the time. Listen to this, Sarah. That's possibly the best thing I've ever heard. It's so utterly reassuring. Thank you. I know. And like I said, I could see the shoulders just... this client this morning, it was so lovely to witness that reassurance in her too. So the point is that we all have moments. This is not the confession I was actually advertising that I'm going to make. I'm still going to make that one. But I do the eye roll. behind the back of my kids sometimes, or I go the, oh, FFS, what now, under my breath. We all have those moments. We all have those moments where we're just over it. You know, you have those days. But most of the time, I utterly delight in my children. I love their company. They make me laugh every day. They're so funny. And I know all parents, especially on a good day, will say similar things about their kids. You know, that they're just so funny and they're so smart and they surprise me every day. But the flip side, of course, we have our moments where we just go, gosh, when do I get a break? When does somebody just let me be on the toilet without interruption? When can I just finish a thought, let alone a sentence, without being disturbed? So knowing that it's okay to have those moments, you're not damaging your child by having those moments. Jen's definitely have those moments, and mine are 24, 19 and 17. See? Deathbed, I'll still be learning. So it's getting back to that idea of good enough really is good enough. There's no room for perfectionism in parenting, none whatsoever. My house is a testament to that. But you just need to just take a breath. It's okay. Tough day, doesn't matter. You're not going to break your kids. Okay. Now then, the confession is coming. Okay. So I have discovered, I don't know if any of you have read the work of Brené Brown. She's an American researcher. She's a psychologist. No, I think she's actually a clinical social worker. And she's done lots and lots of research into concepts around fear and emotional vulnerability. And so I have just started reading. I say reading, I'm actually listening via Audible to her book Braving the Wilderness. And I'll find the actual title. I pulled it up. I might actually take a screenshot and pop this in for you in the comments in a minute. Braving the Wilderness. I want to give you the full title because it is actually linked to what we're talking about with emotional vulnerability. So it is called Braving the Wilderness. When I don't know what to do, I will sing to you, so be careful. Just trying to find this on here. She's written a lot of books. She's written quite a number of books now. She's become a very popular speaker. Oh, Emily is saying she's listening to it. Isn't it lovely? I actually had tears with her introductory chapter for this book. She talked about her growing up years, and I recognised some emotional elements, if you like, to my growing up years. And I'll tell you that in a second. So the book is called The Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone. So Braving the Wilderness, the Quest for True Belonging and the Courage to Stand Alone. It's about emotional vulnerability. And she talked about, yeah, okay, everyone loves her. I'm really late with with the Brené Brown bus. I've just stepped onto the bus. I can see you guys are streets ahead of me. So she's got another one here, The Power of Vulnerability. So she's talking about what the things we will do to fit in, and how sometimes we do things that don't serve us well. So she talked about, you know, as a teenager, she went off the rails a little bit, trying desperately to fit in after being rejected from being a cheerleader. I think another desperate attempt to fit in, and feeling, because she moved around a lot, and I moved around a lot as a kid too. So she was talking about how, you know, going from school to school to school, she was always a new kid, which was my experience, and that she never quite fit in because she never had the history with the rest of the kids in her grade. So, you know, that really spoke to me. Anyway, so here's my guilty mum confession. Rushed off to school assembly this afternoon, and as I do, I try to go to all of them because I've developed this ridiculous irrational fear that if I don't go, one of them will get given an award and I won't be there to see it, and then I'll be in trouble with my kids. So I go to all the assemblies if I can, and today I had the earpods in and was listening to Brené Brown while I was meant to be listening to the assembly, and desperately trying to turn the volume down so no one sitting next to me could hear what I was doing. And while getting back to my pumpkin post, if you saw it earlier today, this one, can you see that? The pumpkin post. While I was sitting there, I nearly fell off my chair. She said something that just threw me in such a positive way, that I really had to share that. And so while I'm sitting there, I'm then on my phone designing a little social media post to reflect it. She was talking about an interview that she did with the actress Viola Davis, and that Viola Davis had a very difficult upbringing, and she talked about emotional vulnerability, and she talked about how sometimes it's tempting to develop a really thick skin and to not let feelings in. And I hear some parents talk about this too, sometimes when they, for example, have had a loss, either a pregnancy loss or an infant loss or loss of a child. They often talk about doing battle with being vulnerable, emotionally vulnerable. Step parents often talk about this too, doing battle with being emotionally vulnerable in case they're going to have their feelings devastated again. But we can expand the concept to all sorts of relationships, of course. So Viola Davis said something along the lines of developing a thick skin to keep painful emotions out is actually a really dangerous game to play, because then what can happen is you trap in pain and hurt. You also trap in all the love and the joy that you could express if you were more vulnerable. So you end up shutting yourself off a little bit, both not just from feeling pain thrown at you, but from letting out all those positive emotions. Now, I see a lot of that kind of thing in my clinical work, but this notion of the danger of a thick skin, I'd never heard it put so eloquently before. So all these concepts tie in nicely together about being emotionally responsive, being emotionally attuned, not using the need to do that as a stick to beat yourself up with, but just being vulnerable, being open, being okay with that, being okay with the uncertainty of it all. And feeding into the that concept of being a good enough mother. And again, you can also apply that. It is beautiful, isn't it, Jen? You know, it's just this beautiful way of looking at the value of the risk of not being emotionally vulnerable outweighs, the benefits of being emotionally vulnerable outweigh the risks of associated with shutting yourself in there. It's quite a beautiful point. And these concepts you can apply to any relationship, really, when you think about it. So being a good enough wife, being a good enough daughter, being a good enough son, being a good enough sister, brother. You can apply all of those things to your life. Nobody is perfect. No relationship is perfect. And sometimes we need to just accept that, sit with the uncertainty, sit with our imperfections, sit with emotional vulnerability as well, and let that unfold and roll with it as it comes. Certainly in parenting, I think we'll all agree that that's part of the game of parenting, rolling with it as it comes, because every time you feel like you've got a handle on what's happening, there's a developmental shift and the goalposts move again. So that's probably it for me tonight. I've got myself my glass of water in a wine glass to convince myself that it is Friday, and soon this will be a very different colour, I can tell you that much. So have a fabulous Friday. I will see you again tomorrow, being Saturday, and I am actually hoping I'm going to be in my office tomorrow afternoon. We've got an anxiety group going on in the office at the moment, and I'm going to pop in there tomorrow, and I'm hoping to do my video tomorrow on a little strategy for anxiety. So that will be, hopefully that'll be about 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish. So we'll see you then. Have a great Friday. Enjoy your pizzas, enjoy your wine, enjoy your kids, enjoy your partner, enjoy your solitude, whatever it is that you love about Fridays. Go forth and do that in spades. And I'll talk to you again tomorrow. Great to have you all with me. It's lovely to have a nice chat. Hi, Phil. Thank you. Were you there the whole time? I'm going to put my feet up. Yes, I will. Absolutely, Jen. Thanks. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Take care for now. Bye-bye.